From the things between the two fighters getting heated, to Paul potentially ending up in a lose-lose situation, here's everything you need to know about Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. Now, with the fighters having signed the contract for their upcoming boxing match, things are about to get really heated. Jake Paul even took a subtle shot at Tyson, calling himself the greatest. Despite standing right beside Tyson when the two signed their contracts, it's clear Jake is trying to get the audience all riled up for this, but you've got to wonder, can he back up all his bravado with actual skill? Well, the guy will step up to heavyweight for the first time in his career. And let's not forget his 9-1 record, while having 3 pretty decent victories under his belt after his split decision loss to Tommy Fury last year. So it's not like he's completely about to get hit out of left field. In fact, if anything, it's Tyson that some folks are worried about more. I mean, let's be real. He's not exactly in his prime. Tyson is stepping back into the ring for the first time in almost 4 years. The last time fans got to see him fight was in his exhibition bout with Roy Jones Jr., all the way back in 2020. In fact, the sheer age difference between the two fighters is a big part of why it's becoming one of the most controversial fights y'all will ever see. You know something is up when even medical professionals are telling Tyson not to risk it. One lecturer at Anglia Ruskin University even said that the fight could be fatal for Mike. It turns out that when you're almost 60 years old, your body isn't able to take repeated blows to the head. According to experts, while the immediate effects of the fight might be minimal, things can go sideways really quickly after the fight. Like, the veins in his brain could tear up, causing a loss of consciousness and, in some cases, outright death. It's no wonder folks want him to step away from this whole thing. I mean, he's already a living legend. I don't think going up against Jake Paul is going to add all that much to his legacy, you know. But Mike seems pretty determined to go through with it. And get this, there's another big reason why this whole fight is getting so many folks heated. Paul has stated that he doesn't want either of the two fighters to wear headgear when they step to the fight. They're trying to keep things fully professional, with neither of the fighters pulling their punches. Now, it's still not clear what the finer details of the fight are just yet. Even with the contract being signed, we still don't know if they're gonna go through with the no headgear rule. But if they do, it's bound to be even more dangerous for Mike Tyson than people initially thought. So it's no surprise why people have grabbed their pitchforks. Now, you can't help but wonder if Tyson himself is aware of the dangers involved. I mean, considering his experience in the ring, I'm sure he isn't taking this fight lightly. Especially because it isn't just about getting punched in the head. There are tons of other injuries Tyson can sustain during the fight. From the looks of it, he does seem to be taking the whole thing seriously. Unlike the time when he fought Roy Jones Jr., Mike knows he's got to put in actual time and effort for this one. When you consider that Jake maintains himself too, this definitely feels like it's going to be a very one-sided fight, especially if Tyson isn't fully prepared. But who knows? Maybe that classic Tyson hook will come flying in and knock the lights out of Jake early on. Though that might just be wishful thinking for fans of the guy, and with what medical experts have had to say about the fight so far, things aren't exactly looking good for Tyson, no matter how you put it. Plus, it's not medical experts who aren't convinced. Even UFC legends have put their hats into the ring. Consider what Michael Bisping had to say about the whole fiasco. The British UFC commentator thinks that while there's a chance Mike could just end up wiping the floor with Jake, that still doesn't mean that Tyson should underestimate the YouTuber. Again, it does feel like Jake will enter the ring being fully prepared. And when you consider the sheer age difference, then even Michael started to show some signs of worry for Tyson. He mentioned that Mike gets clipped by Jake. He could be looking at some serious brain damage. Most other cases like this in the past have shown that brain trauma starts making huge differences in a person after they cross 50. Considering all this, Michael felt like this is definitely going to be a unique challenge for Mike, but it's one that Bisping hopes Tyson succeeds in. He added that he wants Mike to dethrone Jake and be the first person to do it at the age of 58. Sure, he could suffer some serious brain damage or even outright die, but Michael feels like Tyson just doesn't care. After all, this is a man who's been taking risks his entire life. So while this is another massive risk, it's one that could definitely result in him knocking Jake Paul out. It really seems like the stakes have never been higher for any fight. On one hand, Tyson has the potential to show the world that even at 58, he's no pushover. And he's just as much of a legend as he's always been. But if he loses, he could be looking at some serious damage, one that he might not ever be able to recover from. It's crazy to even think about it. But Michael isn't the only person who gave his opinion on the whole thing, because Joe Rogan also mentioned what could potentially happen. Rogan once famously said that he doesn't care if Tyson is over 55 years old. He's still Mike Tyson. Joe added that Mike trains with people like Rafael Cordero, a tried-and-true MMA legend. With a world-renowned trainer like that, Tyson might just stand a chance. Joe also said that when you see Tyson smashing into the mitts while training with Rafael, it goes to show that this is a guy who can still pack a serious punch. And with all the hormone replacements and vitamins nowadays, Joe felt that Tyson has been keeping up with things like electrical muscle stimulation, so he might be in better shape than people give him credit for. This could even be seen when Mike was training to go up against Roy Jones. Joe feels they were straight up using some sort of state-of-the-art science. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if Mike is nearing 60. Now, while some folks might think Tyson has what it takes to go up against Jake, not everyone has the same idea. In fact, UFC President Dana White isn't a fan of the matchup at all. White even mocked Jake Paul for accepting the fight. I mean, Jake is once again going up against a fighter who's way older than him. When he did fight someone his age, he lost. It's like he can't fight people who are on the same level as him, and has to instead resort to folks who shouldn't even consider stepping into the ring at their age. Dana joked that the next person Paul goes up against might as well be Clint Eastwood, who's 93 years old, since that does seem to be the target demographic Jake is going after. But jokes aside, White was serious when he said that the 31-year age difference between the two isn't something that should be taken lightly. There's some serious potential for harm here for Tyson, and White just isn't convinced that he can handle going up against someone like Jake. Now, if both of the fighters were in their prime, it'd be a completely different story. But that just isn't how it is. Honestly, with how much ridicule Paul has been getting for this fight, it's a surprise he even agreed to it in the first place. I mean, let's be honest. There's no situation where Paul comes out of this looking good. On one hand, he'll effortlessly beat a 58-year-old Tyson, which isn't really an achievement. But if he loses, then it'll be like he was wiped away by someone more than twice his age. The whole thing is a lose-lose situation for Paul, which is probably why fans can't understand why he's so excited for this. If Jake wanted folks to see him as a credible fighter, he should probably be facing off against folks who have a chance against him. Currently, no matter the outcome of the fight, folks are going to be raining fire on Paul. Hopefully, Tyson won't end up getting seriously injured. I mean, can you imagine if Paul ends up dealing a blow that could potentially be fatal for Mike? I don't think you can recover from doing something like that to become an all-time great in the world of boxing. Either way, I'm sure folks are going to be glued to their screens when the fight does end up happening. It's going to be one memorable encounter, for better or for worse. So from Paul potentially ending up in a lose-lose situation, to the things between the two fighters getting heated, that was everything you needed to know about Jake Paul vs. Mike Tyson.